So Tulix actually has several data center. Historically, for the last 25 plus years, Tulix had its own data centers. And data center where we had a different number of data center, and sometimes two, three. Right now we have in Atlanta actually 4 points of presence. We have two data centers in our building and two other and small presence in two other locations. So what makes it special? There are a couple of things what makes it special, in my opinion, and one of them is the capacity. So usually data centers of our size of that we have, they usually have some type of bandwidth which is sufficient for their services, and usually those services are transactional services, would be financial, it would be credit card transactions, there would be some website and so on. Our actual data center is designed to serve streaming content. Streaming content, we're talking about maybe a homepage which has maybe a couple of megabytes of size or less or more, versus something which could be, we're talking about several megabits per every second. So we're talking incomparable traffic, and this is what our data center is designed for. So what that means that the whole architecture, network architecture, the routers, switches, servers, they're all designed to be able to serve a lot of data. A lot of data in the form of, it's like a star-based topology where you have everything concentrated into the router, and the router pushes all the traffic to the internet. This on one hand. On the other hand, I mentioned already before in one of my previous presentations that we're using so-called network optimizer. Actually, we're using several network optimizers, and those optimizers allows you to push the content through the specific path or through the most efficient path over the internet to the end viewers, which makes user experience much better than any other competitor, so-called CDNs or streaming services. And mostly this is the two major differences in our data center, which we have set capacity and high capacity, unusually high capacity, and optimization. On the other point, since we have several data centers, and it's not just about having several data centers, we also have several networks within our data center. Those networks are independent. It allows us within our data center to have a redundancy. So we don't have to go even out and utilize someone else's data center unless we decided to, obviously, for some specific reasons. We have redundancy within our data center. So if we have completely shut down one of our networks, I'm not talking about data center, but networks, we still have a second or third net. Actually, we have three at this point networks, and all three are independent from each other. Of course, they're tied to each other, but at the same time, they're completely independent. And this makes a big difference, especially where we, in some cases, have to send a signal to some big networks. In US network, it's a requirement to have two redundant passes, and we can qualify to do so even within from our infrastructure. So this is, I think, it's very important. Also, by the way, that B2B business model is financially is not very well suited for classical CDNs, because for classical CDN, their main focus is to provide services like for live events or when you have traffic up and down, in some cases a lot. In our case, while we can do that too, and our customers need B2B environment where we have a constant permanent stream going to our points of distribution, we're switching to second model, business or pricing model, which makes our streaming service one of the most efficient services in the world, actually. And this obviously makes also big difference.